and gentlemen, life is hard. There's no sugarcoating it, no easy way to say it. We all go through struggles, face obstacles that seem insurmountable, and walk through seasons of doubt. But today I want to remind you of something powerful, something that can change the way you face life's most difficult moments. Let God handle it. We often find ourselves in the midst of challenges that we don't understand. We question why things are happening the way they are, why we're facing pain, disappointment, or loss. And I want to say it's okay to feel that way. It's okay to acknowledge the difficulty. It's okay to feel overwhelmed. But I also want to encourage you to see beyond the surface of your circumstances, because every challenge is part of a bigger purpose. The divine hand in everything that happens to you, every struggle you face, every hardship you endure, is not happening by accident. Life's difficulties are designed to shape you, to mold you into someone stronger, someone more capable, someone with a deeper faith. And while it might feel hard, God is using that very difficulty to create something beautiful in you. But how do we get through it? How do we endure when life seems unbearable? It begins with faith. Faith in something bigger than yourself. Faith that there is a purpose behind your pain, even when you don't see it. Faith that the struggles you face are not meant to break you, but to build you. Faith that God is with you, guiding you, even when the road ahead seems unclear. God's timing is perfect. It's easy to feel impatient, frustrated, or even hopeless when things don't happen as quickly as we want. But the truth is, God's timing is never wrong. Even when we feel like we're waiting, He's preparing us. He's working behind the scenes, orchestrating everything in your life for your good. What seems delayed is actually a setup for something greater. But here's where we often struggle. We want to control everything. We want to fix the problems ourselves. We want to figure everything out. But that's not the way to victory. Victory comes through surrender. It comes when we stop trying to control every aspect of our lives and say, God, I trust you. I trust that you will guide me. I trust that you will handle it. In those moments of surrender, God steps in. He gives us strength when we feel weak. He provides clarity when we are confused. He gives us peace when we are anxious. Because God's promise is that He will never leave us nor forsake us. In every storm, He is right there holding us up. Now, I know that endurance isn't always easy. Patience isn't always comfortable. But if we endure, if we remain steadfast, God's reward is always greater than the struggle. He's promised us a future filled with hope, joy, and peace. But sometimes we have to trust the process. So, whatever it is that you're facing today, no matter how heavy it seems, no matter how dark the road, let God handle it. Surrender to Him. Let go of the burden and trust that His plan is unfolding, even if you can't see it yet. He is not only walking with you through the storm, He's using the storm to shape you for something greater. Let your heart rest in that truth. Remember, it's hard, but you don't have to carry it alone. Let God handle it. Life is hard, and there's no denying it. We all face challenges that seem insurmountable at times, moments when everything feels like it's falling apart. We encounter situations that test our limits, push us to the edge, and make us question whether we're strong enough to continue. There are days when we wake up feeling overwhelmed by the weight of our responsibilities, the pain of our past, or the uncertainty of our future. And in those moments, it's easy to feel like we're alone, or like we're stuck in a place we can't escape from. But the reality is that this is part of being human. Everyone at some point faces trials. These challenges might look different for each person, but the struggle is universal. It's easy to hide behind a smile or pretend that everything is fine, but deep down, we know that life doesn't always go as planned. Sometimes it feels like the world is against us, and we wonder why things have to be so difficult. It's important to acknowledge the reality of these struggles, because only then can we truly begin to navigate them. Denying the difficulty doesn't make it go away, it just makes it harder to deal with. But when we face the hardship head on and allow ourselves to feel the weight of it, we open the door to something greater. We create space for growth, for understanding, and for the strength we didn't know we had. Yes, life is hard, but acknowledging that fact is the first step in finding the strength to overcome. It's in the hard moments that we often discover who we truly are and who we can become. When we encounter challenges, it's natural to ask, why me? Or why now? It's easy to feel lost or to wonder if there's any meaning behind the pain and struggle we're going through. But deep down, I believe there is a greater purpose behind everything we experience. Every challenge, every trial, every heartache is part of a larger plan, one that often extends far beyond our understanding in the moment. We don't always see it at first, but life has a way of weaving these experiences together to teach us valuable lessons, to help us grow, and to prepare us for something greater. The difficult times, though painful, have a way of refining us. They force us to dig deep, to rely on strength we didn't know we had, and to call upon faith when everything else seems uncertain. It's in the midst of our struggles that we often learn our deepest truths about ourselves, about life, and about the world around us. It's easy to think that suffering is purposeless, that it's just a random sequence of unfortunate events. But I challenge you to consider that maybe the pain you're going through is preparing you for something bigger, something that will bring you closer to your purpose. Maybe the struggles are the very things that will give you the wisdom, the resilience, and the compassion you need to help others in their own struggles down the road. The hardest moments of our lives often serve as a powerful foundation for the future. They shape us in ways we can't always see, but they refine our character, teach us patience, and build a sense of endurance that helps us handle what's coming next. And even when we can't see the full picture, we can trust that there's a divine purpose behind it all, one that will unfold when the time is right. It may not always make sense in the moment, but every challenge is part of a greater story, one that is unfolding according to a higher plan. And when we begin to understand that, we can approach life's difficulties with a sense of peace, knowing that they are leading us towards something greater. Faith is the foundation that holds us steady when everything else seems to be falling apart. In times of difficulty, when we are faced with challenges that seem too much to bear, it's our faith that keeps us grounded and gives us the strength to keep going. Faith is not simply believing in a set of ideals or doctrines. It's trusting in something greater than ourselves, a higher power that is working on our behalf, even when we can't see it. When we face adversity, it's easy to become overwhelmed by the weight of it all. It's tempting to rely on our own strength, to try and figure everything out ourselves. But the truth is, we don't have to carry the burden alone. Faith reminds us that we are not in this battle by ourselves. It's the belief that there is a divine purpose, even in the midst of pain, that somehow, some way, things will work out for our good. It's trusting that we are not defined by our struggles, but that the struggle is a stepping stone towards something better. Having faith doesn't mean that we will always have immediate answers or that things will be easy. It doesn't mean that every challenge will disappear the moment we call on God or seek His help. What faith does is remind us that there's something bigger at work behind the scenes. Faith allows us to see beyond our circumstances and recognize that the difficulties we face are not the end of our story, but rather part of a greater narrative that is still being written. When we have faith, we surrender the need to control every outcome. We let go of the idea that we can solve everything on our own, and instead we place our trust in the one who knows the path ahead. It is in this surrender that we find peace, knowing that we don't have to fight every battle alone. Faith gives us the courage to take each step forward, even when we can't see the entire journey. In moments of doubt or fear, faith becomes our anchor, reminding us that there is hope even in the darkest of times. It allows us to move forward with confidence, not in our own strength, but in the strength of the one who is guiding us. Faith helps us to hold on, to endure, and to believe that no matter how hard it gets, there's a greater plan unfolding, a plan that will lead us to a place of peace, victory, and fulfillment. God's timing is something that often challenges our understanding. In a world where instant gratification is the norm, where we want everything to happen right now, we can become frustrated when things don't unfold as quickly as we would like. We find ourselves wondering, why is this taking so long, or why is this happening at this particular time? Yet, when we step back and trust in God's timing, we realize that His plans are never rushed, never late, and always perfectly aligned with what we need, even when we can't see it in the moment. We tend to measure time by our own expectations, by what we think should happen, and when we think it should happen. But God sees the bigger picture, the full scope of our lives, and He understands the precise moment when everything will come together in the best possible way. What may seem like a delay or a setback is often just a moment of preparation, a time of growth that we may not fully comprehend until later. There is a purpose in waiting. God's timing teaches us patience, trust, and endurance. In the waiting, He is working behind the scenes, orchestrating the circumstances of our lives in ways that are beyond our control or comprehension. While we may want things to happen right now, God knows that sometimes we need more time to be ready for what He's about to bring into our lives. It's in the waiting that we are refined, our character strengthened, and our hearts shaped to receive the blessings and opportunities that are coming. We might not always understand why certain things are happening when they are. There are seasons in life where everything feels uncertain and we are left questioning why things aren't moving the way we had hoped. But when we trust in God's timing, we can have peace, knowing that He is never early, never late. He is always right on time. When we look back, we often realize that the timing of events in our lives worked out in ways that were far better than we could have imagined. God's timing is perfect because He knows what's best for us. Sometimes we want things to happen immediately because we're uncomfortable or impatient, but He knows when we are truly ready for the next step. The right moment may be different from what we expected, but when we look back with faith and perspective, we see that God's timing has always been a part of a larger plan for our lives. It's a plan that will unfold exactly how it's meant to at the perfect time. In moments of struggle, it often feels like the weight of the world is on our shoulders and the pressure to keep going can seem unbearable. We might wonder if we have the strength to continue or if we will ever overcome the obstacles in front of us. But it's in the very struggles we face that we often discover our true strength. Challenges are not just obstacles. They are opportunities to build resilience, character, and the inner strength that will carry us through life's toughest moments. Struggles shape us in ways that comfort and ease never could. When we face adversity, we are forced to dig deep within ourselves. We find courage we didn't know we had, the perseverance to keep moving forward when all we want to do is stop, and the determination to rise above the circumstances that threaten to hold us down. The difficulty itself becomes the very thing that strengthens us, molding us into individuals who are capable of handling even greater challenges in the future. While we may not always understand why we have to endure hardship, we can trust that it is through the struggle that we are being prepared for something greater. Every challenge we face is an opportunity for growth, even when it feels uncomfortable or painful. The person we become after overcoming a struggle is stronger, wiser, and more equipped to handle whatever comes next. The struggle refines us, teaching us lessons we would never learn in times of ease, and giving us a depth of character that can only be gained through perseverance. It's important to remember that strength doesn't always come in grand, dramatic moments. Sometimes it's found in the quiet persistence of continuing to put one foot in front of the other, even when the path is unclear. Strength is found in the decision to not give up, to trust that better days are ahead, even when everything around us seems to be falling apart. Each step we take in faith, even when it's hard, is a step toward greater strength. Through our struggles, we are not only building our own strength, but we are also learning how to encourage and support others who are facing their own battles. The struggles we face connect us to others in ways that ease never could. They create a shared understanding, a bond that transcends differences and brings us together. When we endure hardship, we learn to empathize, to show compassion, and to offer help to others who are walking through their own valleys. So while struggles may feel overwhelming in the moment, we can take comfort in knowing that they are the very things that will make us stronger. Through each trial, we are becoming more than we were before, more resilient, more compassionate, and more capable of facing whatever life throws our way. Strength is not built in the absence of struggle, but through it. And with each challenge, we are forging a foundation of endurance that will carry us for a lifetime. We live in a world that often tells us to control every aspect of our lives, from managing our careers to handling our relationships, from planning our futures to fixing our problems. It can feel like we have to be the ones in charge at all times. The pressure to control everything around us can be overwhelming, and yet, in trying to hold on to control, we often end up losing sight of what truly matters. Sometimes, the most powerful thing we can do is to release that need to control and trust that everything will unfold as it should. Letting go of control doesn't mean giving up or being passive. It's about surrendering our fears, our insecurities, and our worries into the hands of a higher power. It's about recognizing that we cannot control everything, and that sometimes trying to do so only causes more stress and anxiety. By releasing control, we open ourselves up to new possibilities, to trust in something greater than our own understanding, and to a deeper sense of peace. When we try to control every situation, we are often driven by fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of failure, fear of losing something or someone we value. This constant striving for control can keep us stuck in a cycle of anxiety, and we find ourselves unable to fully enjoy the present moment because we are consumed with worry about what's to come. But when we choose to release that control, we free ourselves from the burden of trying to predict and manipulate every outcome. We allow ourselves to trust that things will unfold in the way they are meant to, even if we don't have all the answers right now. Releasing control also involves having faith that everything we experience, even the difficult and painful moments, is part of a larger plan. We may not understand why things are happening, but when we let go of the need to control, we create space for God's guidance, for divine wisdom to lead us. This release is not about stepping back entirely. It's about stepping forward in faith and allowing the process of life to unfold without the constant pressure to micromanage every detail. It's about finding peace in the uncertainty, knowing that we are not alone in the journey. One of the greatest lessons in releasing control is learning to trust. Trust in God's timing, trust in the process, and trust that even when things don't go according to our plans, they are still going according to His. When we stop trying to manipulate outcomes and instead surrender to His will, we open ourselves to a deeper sense of fulfillment and joy that comes from knowing we are exactly where we need to be, even if it doesn't feel that way at first. There is freedom in letting go. It doesn't mean we become passive in life, but rather it means we are actively choosing to put our trust in something greater. Releasing control is an act of faith, an act of courage, and an act of peace. When we learn to let go, we allow God to take the reins, knowing that He is in control and He will guide us to where we need to be. In life, there are moments when we feel lost or unsure about the path ahead. We face decisions, challenges, and uncertainties that seem too overwhelming to navigate on our own. In these times, seeking divine guidance becomes not just an option, but a necessity. It's in turning to something greater than ourselves, in seeking the wisdom of God, that we find direction, clarity, and peace in the midst of confusion. When we seek divine guidance, we acknowledge that we are not the sole authors of our lives. We surrender our need to have all the answers, to control every outcome, and instead we trust that God sees the bigger picture, the full scope of our lives, and the plans He has for us. This guidance isn't always immediate or clear in the way we expect, but it comes in the quiet moments, in prayer, in reflection, and in the peace that follows when we place our trust in Him. Seeking divine guidance begins with humility. It's about recognizing that as much as we may try, We don't have all the answers. It's acknowledging our limitations and surrendering our understanding to the wisdom of God. It's a recognition that while we have our own desires, ambitions, and plans, there is a purpose for our lives that goes beyond what we can envision on our own. In seeking God's guidance, we open ourselves to a greater purpose, one that we may not fully understand at the moment, but one that will ultimately lead us to where we are meant to be. One of the greatest gifts of divine guidance is the peace it brings. When we align ourselves with God's will, there is a peace that surpasses all understanding, a sense of calm that washes over us, even in the most uncertain times. This peace comes from knowing that we don't have to figure everything out by ourselves. We are not alone in our struggles or our decisions. God is walking with us every step of the way, offering his wisdom, his strength, and his reassurance. Divine guidance doesn't always come in the form of a clear voice or a direct answer. Sometimes it comes through the people we meet, through the circumstances we face, or through the quiet nudges we feel in our hearts. It's in the stillness, in the moments of surrender, that God often speaks to us, offering the wisdom and insight we need. It's in seeking his guidance through prayer and reflection that we can begin to discern his will for our lives, knowing that his plan is greater than anything we could have imagined on our own. As we seek divine guidance, we are called to trust in God's timing. Often the answers we seek don't come when we want them or in the way we expect, but God's timing is perfect and his guidance is always for our good. Even when we feel uncertain, we can trust that he is leading us exactly where we need to be. By leaning on his wisdom and understanding, we can move forward with confidence, knowing that he is in control. In seeking divine guidance, we are also invited to step out in faith. God may not always reveal the entire path to us all at once, but he will give us the next step, the next direction. Our job is to take that step, trusting that as we move forward in faith, he will continue to guide us, opening doors and leading us toward our purpose. Each step of obedience is an act of trust, and each step brings us closer to the life he has designed for us. When we seek divine guidance, we are not just looking for answers. We are inviting God into our journey, trusting that he will lead us with wisdom, grace, and love. It's a call to surrender our own plans, our own desires, and to trust that God's plan for us is always better than anything we could have imagined. And in that trust, we find peace, direction, and the assurance that we are exactly where we are meant to be. Victory through surrender is a concept that seems counterintuitive at first. In a world where winning is often associated with fighting harder, pushing forward, and taking control, the idea of surrendering to achieve victory can feel like a paradox. Yet, there is a deep truth in this idea that in surrendering our battles to a higher power, we experience a kind of victory that is beyond our own strength or effort. When we choose to surrender, we let go of our need to control every outcome, every situation. We release the weight of trying to manage everything, to manipulate circumstances to fit our desires. This act of surrender is not a sign of weakness, but of strength. The strength to trust in something greater than ourselves. It's a decision to stop fighting in our own limited capacity and to trust that there is a higher plan at work, one that knows what is best for us even when we can't see it. Surrender doesn't mean giving up, it means giving over. It's not a resignation to passivity, but an active choice to let go of fear, anxiety, and the need to control. When we surrender, we allow ourselves to be led by a greater force, one that is more powerful and more wise than we are. We acknowledge that on our own, we cannot always predict or control the outcome of our struggles, but we trust that the outcome in God's hands will be better than anything we could have imagined. In the act of surrender, we find a kind of freedom. We free ourselves from the pressure of perfection, from the burden of needing to do everything right, and from the anxiety of trying to predict and control every aspect of our lives. We recognize that victory is not about winning in our own strength, but about allowing God's strength to work through us. We come to understand that true victory is not about achieving success by our own efforts, but about aligning ourselves with God's will and allowing Him to fight the battle for us. Through surrender, we find peace. We stop striving and rest in the knowledge that God is in control. We no longer have to carry the burden of uncertainty or the fear of failure because we trust that the outcome will be what it needs to be. This peace comes from knowing that victory is already secured, not by our hands, but by the grace and wisdom of a higher power. Surrender also deepens our relationship with God. As we let go of our need to control, we create space for Him to step in and work in ways we could never have done on our own. In the process of surrendering, we learn to rely on God, to trust in His timing, and to follow His lead. Surrender invites us into a deeper intimacy with the divine, where we no longer struggle alone, but partner with God in the unfolding of our lives. Victory through surrender doesn't come through avoiding challenges or escaping difficulties. Rather, it comes through allowing ourselves to face the challenges with a sense of peace, knowing that we do not have to fight every battle on our own. It comes when we let go of our own need for control and embrace the peace that comes with trusting that God will lead us through. When we surrender, we allow victory to come, not through our own striving, but through God's divine intervention and grace. Surrender becomes a pathway to true victory. It is a victory not defined by how hard we fight or how much we control, but by the strength we gain in trusting God and letting Him fight the battles for us. Through surrender, we learn that victory doesn't always look the way we expect, but it's always more beautiful, more lasting, and more powerful than anything we could have achieved on our own. God's promise of peace is not a fleeting, superficial peace that comes from the absence of conflict or the temporary resolution of problems. It's a deep, unshakable peace that transcends the circumstances of our lives and surpasses all understanding. In a world that is often marked by turmoil, anxiety, and uncertainty, God's promise of peace is a refuge, a place of rest, where we can find comfort and security even in the most trying time. This peace is not dependent on external factors or situations. It doesn't rely on the absence of struggles or the fulfillment of our every desire. Instead, it is a peace that comes from knowing that God is with us, that He is in control, and that His plan for our lives is one of good, even in the midst of difficulty. It's a peace that we can experience in the depths of our hearts, even when everything around us seems chaotic. When we accept God's promise of peace, we open ourselves to a comfort that the world cannot offer. We realize that we are not alone in our struggles. No matter how difficult the road may seem, we can trust that God is walking alongside us, offering His peace as a balm for our souls. This peace allows us to face our fears, our worries, and our doubts with courage and confidence, because we know that God is with us through it all. God's promise of peace also comes with the assurance that He is working everything together for our good. When we face challenges, it's easy to become overwhelmed by the weight of it all and to wonder if things will ever get better. But God's peace assures us that He is always working behind the scenes, orchestrating the details of our lives according to His perfect plan. Even when we don't understand why things are happening the way they are, we can trust that God's peace will keep us anchored, knowing that He is faithful to fulfill His promises. This peace is not the absence of trials, but the presence of God in the midst of them. It is the inner calm that comes when we surrender our worries to Him and trust in His timing. It's the peace that rises above our circumstances, reminding us that God's love and power are greater than anything we face. It is a peace that fills our hearts with hope, even when the future seems uncertain, because we know that God is in control and that He will never leave us nor forsake us. In a world that often offers temporary distractions and fleeting comforts, God's promise of peace is a steady and unwavering foundation. It is a peace that comes when we align our hearts with His will, when we trust in His guidance, and when we lean on His strength. It's a peace that can't be shaken by the storms of life. because it is rooted in the unchanging nature of God's love. God's peace is also transformative. It doesn't just calm our hearts in times of trouble, it changes the way we view the world. When we experience the peace of God, we begin to see our challenges differently. Instead of focusing on the problems, we start to focus on God's presence and His power to help us overcome. This peace helps us to release fear, to let go of anxiety, and to trust that no matter what, we are safe in His care. God's promise of peace is a gift that we can hold on to in every season of life. It is not something we earn or achieve, but something that He freely offers to us. All we need to do is receive it, trusting that His peace will guard our hearts and minds and give us the strength to face whatever comes our way. With God's peace, we are never alone, and we can rest assured that no matter how great the storm, His peace will always be greater. Endurance and patience are virtues that are often tested during the most trying times in our lives. They are qualities that are not easily developed, but are essential for navigating the inevitable struggles and challenges we all face. In a world that seeks immediate solutions and quick fixes, learning to endure and to be patient can feel counterintuitive. Yet, these are the qualities that allow us to persevere and grow through life's most difficult seasons. Endurance is the ability to withstand hardship, to keep moving forward when every step feels heavy, and to push through when we feel like giving up. It's about having the strength to endure the long, often tiring process of waiting, of hoping, and of working toward a goal without losing heart. Endurance isn't just about physical strength. It's about mental and emotional resilience. It's about holding on when everything around you is falling apart, knowing that the storm will eventually pass and that you will come through stronger on the other side. Patience, on the other hand, is the ability to remain calm and composed while waiting for the right timing or outcome. It's the quiet strength to endure the delays, the frustrations, and the uncertainties without becoming discouraged. Patience teaches us that not everything happens according to our timeline, but that doesn't mean we are forgotten or that we are failing. It means that sometimes we need to wait for things to unfold in their own time, even when it feels like nothing is happening. Both endurance and patience require faith. They ask us to trust in a process that we may not fully understand and to believe that there is purpose in every moment of waiting. Endurance and patience help us realize that not everything is in our control, and we need to release our need for immediate results or answers. Instead, we learn to trust in the bigger picture, knowing that every experience is shaping us and preparing us for something greater. In the waiting, we often find that God is doing a deeper work in us. He is refining our character, teaching us to rely on His strength rather than our own. Endurance and patience stretch us, push us beyond our limits, and develop in us a strength that can only be built through persistence. The trials that we face are not there to break us, but to mold us into people who are capable of handling greater responsibilities and challenges in the future. The beauty of endurance and patience is that they are not passive. They require action, but a different kind of action than we often think. It's not the frantic striving or anxious movement to make something happen, but the steady, consistent effort to keep going even when the results are not immediately visible. It's about having the inner strength to trust the process, to stay faithful to the journey, and to understand that each step forward, no matter how small, counts. Endurance and patience also foster growth in our relationships. When we learn to endure hardship and practice patience, we become more compassionate toward others who are going through similar struggles. We develop a deeper empathy and understanding for those who are facing their own trials, because we know what it's like to endure the wait and to trust in the unseen. These qualities bring out the best in us as they allow us to grow, not just individually, but relationally as well, fostering bonds that are strengthened through shared patience and perseverance. In the end, endurance and patience are the bedrock upon which we build our capacity to handle life's challenges. They teach us that growth often comes through struggle and that the rewards are not always immediate, but they are worth the wait. When we embrace these qualities, we gain the ability to stand firm in the face of adversity, to remain hopeful when things seem bleak, and to trust that every season, no matter how long, is working for our good. Through endurance and patience, we learn to wait with grace, to act with faith, and to move forward with the confidence that the journey itself is shaping us into the people we are meant to become. As we reflect on the power of endurance, patience, and surrender, it becomes clear that these qualities are not merely tools for surviving life's challenges, but keys to thriving in the midst of them. They shape us, refine us, and bring us closer to our true purpose. Life is filled with moments that test our resolve, moments where we feel weak or uncertain, but it is in those very moments that we discover our strength. Victory, peace, and growth come not from avoiding struggles or rushing through life's process, but from learning to endure with patience, to surrender control, and to trust in God's perfect timing. We are called to move forward in faith, knowing that every challenge, every moment of waiting, and every test of our strength is part of a larger story that God is weaving for our good. So, as you face your own struggles, remember this: you don't have to fight alone. God is with you, guiding you, strengthening you, and offering you his peace. Trust in his promise that he will never leave you, and surrender to his plan. Keep pressing forward with endurance. Keep waiting with patience, and watch as your perseverance leads you to a place of victory that you could never have imagined. Through surrender, endurance, and patience, you will find the strength to overcome, and in doing so, you will emerge stronger, wiser, and more aligned with the purpose he has for your life. Trust the process, trust the journey, and know that God is always in control.